Legitimate question. Does the White House honestly believe the threat of a war crimes investigation will mean anything to a man, Vladimir Putin, who routinely kills his political opponents, used chemical weapons in Syria, and was trained by an organization, the KGB, that installed drains in the basement of the Lubyanka prison in Moscow? The drains were needed to collect the blood of all the people who were executed downstairs. For the people who are planning this war, the threat of Lubyanka, the fate that awaits anyone who doesn't follow Putin's orders, or the fate of Putin himself in the event of a coup, makes war crimes investigations and a trial at The Hague look a little bit like a traffic ticket. We are now in day 15 of the war. It is still not going as Vladimir Putin planned. However, things are getting better. These are the Ukrainian defenses in blue. We've added these in. Certainly now, Vladimir Putin's forces are closing all the way in on Kyiv. We'll get into some of the battles there, but they've pushed in within about 10 or 15 miles. More importantly, perhaps, look at the south. These are the two maneuvers by the Russians out. They are now moving up north here, and they are going to cut off this Ukrainian defense line here, circle them, crush them against the sea, and move over to Odessa. That's exactly what they're doing here. They're going to try to pinch here, come around. These are the most elite of the Ukrainian forces. The Ukrainians thought the invasion originally was going to come this way. It did not. Vladimir Putin's people are going to push and then encircle the Ukrainians here and quite literally slaughter them. That is their plan. Mariupol is the last city. It's the last holdout. This is the Ukrainians' Alamo on the Black Sea right now. That is where the hospital was hit. The aftermath of the shelling and bombing campaign that we saw today is mass graves. They are quite literally beating a civilian population into submission. Back now to the northern part and to the big map. The supply lines for the NATO forces come in here. These are all the anti-tank weapons, the Javelin weapons. They're coming here, and then they continue out to Kyiv. Once Vladimir Putin's able to close this off, it will be very difficult for Kyiv to survive long term. Now we're going to take the map of Kyiv itself to show you exactly what happened today by the Ukrainians. It's pretty incredible what they were able to do. Zoom in map of Kyiv here in a second. Here it is. If you look at the town just in the northeast, Brovary, between there and Kyiv, there is the bridge to the Dnieper River. And on that bridge, there was an incredible ambush by the Ukrainians of Russian tanks. First, the video from above, from the drone that oversaw this ambush. And you can see the Russian tank column being taken out from both the sides and then also from the front as they moved forward. The Ukrainians set an incredible ambush. Here's what those tanks look like after the strikes. We have some video from the ground that came from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry of what was left of that Russian convoy. It is no surprise when you look at the big map and you see how close things are getting around here by the Russians into Kyiv that President Zelensky is softening. All of his east now, he says he might be willing to give up. That includes Crimea and the Donetsk area. He also understands that America's primary mission is not to provoke Vladimir Putin. We bring in Larry Pfeiffer, former chief of staff at the CIA, director of the White House Situation Room, one of his many posts in 31 years of intelligence service. He's now director of the Hayden Center for Intelligence and Policy at George Mason University. Larry, big picture. Is Vladimir Putin in any way deterred by threats of war crimes, investigations, or, frankly, anything the White House has done so far?
Well, war crimes tribunal against a nation like Russia, against a leader like Putin are probably likely to not get very far, unless the Russian people themselves were to turn on Putin and hand him over in some kind of a gesture. So no, I don't think that's anything that's going to deter him. That being said, we do have an international order. We do have an international rule of law we're trying to observe, and the kinds of crimes that they're being committed by the Russians under his direction, should be the subjects of investigation.
Well, his gas attacks in Syria were an investigation in 2014. Nothing came of it. Today, Jen Psaki, perhaps learning from 2014 and Obama's red line that was not enforced, said today she would not put down any red lines, even about the use of chemical weapons. What does the Russian generals and their national security apparatus hear and think of the U.S. response so far?
Well, militarily, clearly the U.S. has signaled that they're not going to engage, with U.S. or NATO forces within Ukraine. They've, clearly put a line in the sand that says, they will respond with all power if they were to, attack NATO forces. So, I imagine they feel that they have, some freedom of action within Ukraine. And that's why it's vitally important that we get the Ukrainians as much, equipment that they can use to fight and and defend themselves against these forces for as long as they can.
I'm glad you brought that.
Ultimately, I think we all agree, the Ukrainian military and population is never going to be able to withstand the onslaught of this large Russian military force. So the goal at this point is to make it take as long as possible and make it as painful as possible for the Russians, so that they'll be deterred from perhaps further adventurism.
Yeah, it's been incredible what they've done. If you'd asked us when the invasion began 2 weeks ago last night, a lot of us said, it could be 24 or 48 hours till they take Kyiv, and still the Ukrainians are holding out. You said it's important to get them everything we possibly can. One of the things that was offered to them was MiG fighter jets from Poland. Originally on Sunday, Antony Blinken, the Secretary of State, said yes. Then all of a sudden the Pentagon changed its mind. Take a listen.
If, for instance, the Polish government, a NATO member, wants to send fighter jets, does that get a green light from the U.S., or are you afraid that that will escalate tension?
No, that gets a green light. In fact, we're talking with our Polish friends right now.
That we don't believe additional aircraft is the most effective answer to meeting those needs in the conflict.
Kirby went on to say that he does believe that sending the aircraft could provoke Vladimir Putin. Does Putin realize effectively that the White House is more scared of him than he is of them?
Well, I'm not sure I would go entirely that far, but clearly between the time Tony Blinken spoke at first and 24 hours later, more rigorous discussion and debate took place within the interagency, at the National Security Council. They tasked the intelligence community to do a kind of a risk-benefit assessment as to whether what the value would be in providing those aircraft versus the risk that it would actually escalate the situation. And it appears from today's testimony on the Hill that the intelligence community fell on the side of that the risk of escalation was greater than the value that would have been obtained by using these aircraft.
Yeah,
perhaps they're going to focus now on other weapons that may be more useful in fighting the Russians at this point.
Yeah, we talked about it yesterday. All the things though that they have not gotten with that same logic: Harpoon missiles, encrypted radios, advanced air defense. It's a long list. Larry, we always appreciate you being here. Thanks for double duty yesterday and today.
Hey, not a problem. Have me anytime.
Good to see you. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.